roll call.
No worries.
No.
Just getting a few people in. George, are you gonna run your own presentation?
Yeah, I'll just run it off here.
Okay.
Okay, I think we've probably got everybody on that we need, or at
Yes.
least enough. All right, so good morning, everybody. I am going to call to order the Truckee River Flood Management Authority Technical Advisory Committee this Friday, December 5th, 2025. The time is currently 10:01. Marty, if you could please do a roll call and establishment of quorum, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Janelle Thomas,
Present.
Chris Bronzik, Trina Magoon,
I'm here.
Mary Horvath,
Here.
John Simpson.
I'm here, but alternate, not voting.
Okay. Rob Beedart, Ashley Elson,
Robert's here. He just was on mute.
Oh,
Gotcha. Recording Robert, Ashley Elson, Amber Sosa,
Here.
Donnie Gilman, Kathy Canfield,
Here. Here.
Donna Noel, Amir Amaro,
Here.
Zachary Carter,
Here.
Chris Fritzen. All right, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Marty. Okay, moving on to item number 2, public comment. During this comment period, any person is invited to comment on any topic, regardless of whether it is listed on the agenda or not. Action may not be taken on any matter raised during the public comment period until the agenda item is opened or the matter is specifically listed on a future agenda. Those who wish to comment on an item that has been listed on this agenda may, if they prefer, comment when that item has been opened for consideration by the board and before action is taken. Comment must be made as described above and is limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have anybody that desires to make public comment?
Madam Chair, this is Michael Bowles. May I please read a statement regarding access by telephone for public?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Those who wish to make public comment by telephone may do so by calling 1-253-215-8782 and using access code 861-1853-2620. If you are unable to access the meeting with that number, please call Michael Bowles at 775-813-1662. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walls. And seeing no hands raised, I will move on to item number 3, approval of the TAC agenda for Friday, December 5th, 2025. Are there any comments or edits preferred before we move on to a motion? Hearing none, I will accept a motion.
I will move to approve.
Thank you, Trina. Do I have a second?
I second, Rob Peter.
Okay, thank you, Rob. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 4, discussion and possible action to approve the draft minutes of Friday, October 24th, 2025 TAC meeting. Any discussion? If not, I will accept a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Trina. Second. Second by Mary. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Item number 5, announcements. Mr. George Robison, do you would like to provide those?
Right. Thank you. So we have, I just have a few announcements that are not part of any agenda item. One is that our gauge network has been refurbished and we have I think we have 8 gauges on our gauge network now. We'll probably have a few more. We put much more accurate buckets that can deal with snow and rain on snow and remain accurate in those situations. We also put thermistors on them, so we've refurbished our network, but we've also moved it to Synoptic, which is where most of the data resides for most gauges. And so, if you've used it before, like to look at the NV energy information or other gauge information, we're on there too now. So it should make it a lot easier for data sharing. Another thing that we have is we are working on Lake Street right now. We have a consultant looking at that situation, how much water is going out, what it would take to stop that. Looking at bridge configurations, possibly that information can help with the bridge design in the future. And so that's just a small contract, but it's going on. Another thing too is Wadsworth is going on, and there was a small change order on that. You might be interested in that. Janelle, is the bridge was actually heavier than anticipated in the design, so they had to change the abutment slightly. It's not a major cost change or anything. Maybe not even a cost change. It might be a small one. We're not sure yet. But so there's that, and they're moving ahead with clearing, getting the site ready and stuff like that for next summer. So they're on schedule on that. Everything seems to be going well. The bridge should be out there in time for the installation starting in June, July, after the tear down in late June. What else do we have? Oh, yes. I wanted to ask Reno if they had any more information on the berm that is going to be installed or worked on, the maintenance activity on Riverside. I know that a contract was or a bid was accepted, but I don't know what the schedule forward is or anything. And I mean, maybe they have more information than I do.
So I guess I'll start with, we worked with JB and they've remodeled the berm and we don't see any real issues with that. So that's great news. I will have to go back and look at the schedule. I do not have that on the top of my brain, but I can send you an email on that.
Okay, thanks. But they did, I know that the city engineer did send out an email and said, hey, we accepted this bid. And it actually came in below bid, which was really a cool thing. And yeah, just looking forward to seeing when that's going to be done. That's something I've supported since 2020. So I'm definitely interested in seeing how that goes.
Our city council, George, our city council did hear the award of that contract yesterday, and that was approved at our city council. And so upcoming schedules for that project construction will likely come here in soon.
Oh, okay. Well, great. That's good to know. Okay. So that's all I really have, unless somebody else has something. Everything else is related to the agenda items.
I have a request for a future agenda item that comes at the end, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We'll close item 5 and move on to item 6, presentation and discussion of the request for qualifications for up to 60% designs for the Tumwa Levee and flood wall project, the airport flood berm protection project, and the Sparks North Bank levee feasibility and alternative study. Possible action to recommend creation of one or several subcommittees to evaluate qualification statements for design of those flood project elements. George, would you like to do this presentation?
Yes, I'll put it on share right now. So you should be seeing a nice little picture of a river and
Yes.
yeah, okay, great. So anyways, this one is just to introduce these RFQs and what the schedule and what some of the issues are, and just talk with everybody about this, because last time what we did with Rock McCarran, and we did this with Wadsworth as well, is we wanted to create a team to evaluate it of people that had high interest in this. For instance, when Wadsworth was the item, there was a high interest from the county because it's a county bridge. And then there was also high interest from the PLPT because that Wadsworth is where a large percentage of the PLPT people live. So we had good representation on that committee for Wadsworth. Then with Rock McCarran, we had representation from just about everybody because it's such a central project and does so many different things. So with that, let me push this ahead. With that, I want to try to do the same thing for these three. And I want to have some representation. So it's not just me and Danielle deciding everything. We want to get input. And there's a little bit of a difference here. Actually, it's kind of similar more like to Wadsworth, where we had a lot of tribal involvement because it's right there with the tribe. In this case, like with the Tumwah levy and the airport levy, we will have representation from the stakeholders that are right there. Airport, because it's on their property and it protects their north runways and their areas there, as well as their terminal. That's really important to them. So we'll have airport, probably engineering representation. And with Tumwah, we definitely will have engineering representation because that whatever we do there helps protect their water treatment facility, which is one of their two big facilities. So it's not the biggest, but it's the second biggest one. So it's important that that's done correctly for their sakes. So we're looking at when we do these, so you got the Tumwah levy here, the airport levy here, and then we have the North Bank levy. And when we talk about the North Bank levy, we're going to want to have representation on that too. And I'll get more specific here in a minute, but I'm just trying to bring that out that, this is a major, in terms of length, I mean, that's a lot of length of this project is going out for design bid here. And these two are going to go to 60%. This is a feasibility and alternative study. So why an RFQ? Some people ask me that. Probably you guys won't because you're in government. But just remember, under Nevada revised statutes, we must request statements of quals versus proposals. That means there can't be any form of monetary pricing within it. But in the quals, and this is what we did, especially for Rock McCarran, is we really focused on an approach to how teams expects to conduct the design or other work. And that approach was a major factor in how we selected the team. Like, do they understand? The approach tells us, do they really understand the work they're supposed to do? Do they really have the right team in place? That sort of thing. So the approach was a very big component. And the consultants, I mean, pre-consulting, I emphasized that on Rock McCarran, and I'm emphasizing it now. There are consultants that when I talked up at the South Lake Tahoe at the, what is it, the NWPA? Yeah, I think that's it, what it is. At that meeting, I mean, I had several consultants talk to me about it. Also at the FMA meetings, also at even at the a meeting I went to in Chicago for the NAFSMA. There was there were two consultants that I talked with, two that represented two teams. So there will be a lot of interest in these, and so I'm happy about that, and just letting you know that. But the approach is how we're going to decide this mostly. Obviously, we want to make sure the people are qualified and everything, but we want to make sure they understand what they're getting themselves into. Um, and then what we've done in the past and we'll do again is we'll provide the RFQ and then key information to interested parties as per a Dropbox folder. And it'll be information that's pertinent to each project. So like I want them to know what they have available already when they bid. They're not bidding, but when they're writing up the approach. So they don't go, I want to do a complete survey. Well, there's a lot of existing survey you can work on, especially at 30%. You might have to supplement it, but you don't have to like reinvent the wheel there. And there's also a lot of geotech available, and there's a lot of other information available that you can, piggyback on. And so I want to make sure they know that, and that's part of their approach. I mean, they should be talking about how they piggyback on what we already have, not reinventing the wheel every time. So each project, here's the different synopsis of the projects. The Tumwa Levee flood wall. I've been out there, I think in the last 6 months, I've been out there 7 or 8 times, walking the site 2 or 3 times, no, 3 times with Tumwa staff and engineers. And it's probably going to be a levee flood wall, and there's some needed bridge capacity work. There's one, I think it's a fairly easy fix, but it's not going to affect their backwatering capabilities or anything. But the bridge is just barely having capacity at the 100, and at the 117, it goes down the street and makes a big mess. And it also goes on the south side as well. So we need to open it up slightly. And I think there's a nice way of doing that without, having to really get into everything and redoing everything. Um, the design will include elements of structural wall, levee, utilities. There'll be environmental for site remediation for during and after construction. There's hydraulics for the levee and wall heights, bridge capacity, and of course, there's geotechnical for levees and walls. There'll be cost estimating as well. So that's the team is going to have to take on all those different tasks. It seems like there won't be, I don't know if there will be a single consultant trying to do everything. It sounds like people are teaming up. That's what I'm hearing. But that's a synopsis of the Tumwa levee. And there's a lot of interest in this one, high level of interest. The airport terracing and berm, the berm layout and height, FAA regulations and permissions. That's a big deal because whatever we do, we have to meet FAA guidelines, not just core requirements and other kinds of requirements. Geotechnical for material for berm, and just the whole geotechnical of using a berm as a flood control structure. Environmental for terracing and remediation during and after constructions. Hydraulics for berm height and effects to the opposite bank in light of the berm and upstream's levees and flood walls. Want to make sure that when we put that berm up, we're not just pushing water into, there's like a trailer court there in Rock Park. I'm not sure, I'll have to talk to Sparks about their concerns about Rock Park, but it does seem to be built to be floodable. But of course, that trailer court is not built to be floodable. The North Bank levee has all of the above pretty much, except for maybe the bridge issues, because the one bridge there is very large. That's the Veterans Bridge. And with the addition of it has the addition of economic analysis, including cost of easements, land purchases for different alternatives, project management expertise to best layout sequencing, because this is a very long, you saw that thing in red, it goes for miles. And do we do it all at once? Do we break it into 3 or 2 or 4? Which are the most vulnerable areas? Which are the areas we should do first? That sort of thing. So that's why there's a feasibility and alternative study first. How do we go after? We're going to have to do easements one way or the other. Do we move the river again? Do we go into those buildings that are very close, that might actually make the project unfeasible. So we really got to be careful. Do we have to use walls in some short sections? There's a lot going on there in this project. But this would be, this is a feasibility and alternative study. So this is a synopsis of each project, what will go into those, just a very broad outline. Any questions about that before I carry forward?
Trina, I see your hand raised.
Thank you. I guess in general, I'm just thinking, first, a question, George. You're looking at bringing these designs to what percent?
The Tumwa levee and flood wall and airport will be going to 60. The North Bank levee is only an alternatives and feasibility study.
Okay.
So probably equivalent to 15% there, I would say.
So I guess some of my thoughts are, the airport berm, as you mentioned, the FAA permitting could increase the timeline because that can take a significant amount of time. So just things to keep mindful of as it's moving through. I think the other thing is coordinating the modeling of each reach of the design and how that's going to occur sort of independently as each one is rolling, and assuming you could have different consultants on each one. Because each one's going to affect the other. You're going to have an effect from one to the other, or maybe just a downstream to up, but or upstream to down. So modeling, sequencing, and interim conditions, I think, are the thoughts that I have rolling around in my head. And then in the future, just thinking about all of those things with respect to permitting and FEMA submittals. So just as it moves along, I'm just trying to understand how each design independently, knowing that they could impact each other, how that's going to be handled.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the Tumwa and the airport. The Tumwa influences the airport, and the airport can influence the other bank. And then the Tumwa and airport together definitely influence the McCarran Rock, which they've already tried to look at that. And they have a configuration that we thought it was going to be. And that configuration will have to be adjusted slightly. I don't think it changes the flow in that much, but they're going to have to look at that as you go into higher levels of design, right?
So
Yeah.
sorry, so as part of the scope, because you're kind of have a project synopsis, as part of the scope of each one of these that you're going to put out, that it include the modeling of not just its section and where we are in today's condition, but then potentially the sequencing condition and final condition, so that we're making sure through each interim condition that we haven't exacerbated it somewhere.
Yeah, now we're getting a little bit into the weeds. The other thing that we have to do, and I just asked Mitch for the most updated model because of the PMR changes, but the other thing that we have to do is we want to match capacity with the flood wall and levee up at the RIS site up there by Walmart. So there's a completed levee and flood wall that's 117 years plus 3 feet. So that one, what they do at Rock McCarran is they match that level, then they flow it through with walls and berms and everything else already done. And so they have much more water going into Rock McCarran for the design than it's like 8,000 more CFS. So the point is as these guys come up with designs, as we get to 60% and higher designs at Rock McCarran, those guys are going to have to modify their designs, or check and see if there is a need to make it slightly higher or something like that. As well as the Tumwa, the airport, we got to take a configuration of what we think Tumwa is first and put it in there for the airport so we know how high that berm should be. And if it changes, then we got to make sure that, it's not changing the berm height, and and how we're doing the terracing and stuff like that there. The North Bank, it's more interesting because of Vista Narrows and the finality of Vista Narrows when it's done. A lot of it's not really controlled as much by what is coming off of the Rock McCarran. It's more controlled by the backwatering at Vista. It's pretty, by the time it gets to peak, it's the backwatering is kind of controlling it. However, you got to double check that. But I think that one is kind of, I don't know, more resistant to change by small iterations in what they're doing in design upstream. So that's kind of an overview of that. But the point is that we will have the most updated PMR to check against the what's going on at risk, the risk levy and flood wall, then match that. They've got to match that. So every one of these ones has to have good hydraulics. And so that's how I think that's how we're envisioning this to work together, to share information and things like that. So I don't know if
Yeah,
that answers your
I just
question.
wanted to
but-
make sure that it was like in the scope that that's a part of the work
Oh yeah,
that they have to
it's
do.
definitely in the I'm not going to show you drafts of these RFQs right now because there is quite a bit of information in there because I want them to give us a good approach.
So
But
we're
yeah,
not going to see
that's
the
in there.
draft. We're not
What's
going to
that?
see the RFQs before they go out.
I didn't say that. I said today.
Oh, today. Okay. Oh, I thought
No,
you said that.
actually that's another slide. You'll see where
Okay.
you're going to see it.
Okay. I think,
Okay.
sorry, Mary has a question.
Yeah.
Mary.
So two things. One is that this is a new agenda item I want to put on the next meeting is that the PMR we're finding with different projects that are using it to look at before and afterwards, like the existing conditions varies quite a bit. So I just want to have that discussion in the future because the PMR that was submitted to FEMA and then city has revised a little bit is running in, I think, 6.4, agency RAS 6.4. And I think when you upgrade the version, it changes delineation. And so just because that you're going to get the newest PMR doesn't mean it's not the newest version of RAS. And
No, and we've been talking about this on even Rock McCarran, where just yesterday I was talking to the design group and we were talking about we have got to get out the bridge hydraulics. I mean, when we started this, we had a 1D bridge, then we had kind of a crappy 2D bridge. Now we have a beta that's actually a pretty good 2D way of doing bridges. So it's really evolving fast. There's
Right.
5 betas on the last, I think it's it'll be 6.7. So there's 5 betas on that. Every one of them, I believe, has a iteration of bridge in it. And the bridges are very important for all of these, except for perhaps the North Bank levee, because the bridges can backwater if we're not careful.
right.
And so we're watching that carefully. And that's going to be something, that we have to, like we really want to check, especially Tumwa's. It will have 2 bridges in the scope. So you're going to check the capacity at the Glendale Bridge and the capacity at the Gregg Bridge downstream, and make sure that we have adequate capacity. I don't think we do on Glendale right now, but I think we will. And Greg, we just need to check that. And we have to check scour as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. And in fact, I think the agencies would rather us use different tools for scour, like SRH or HY8. SRH probably more preferable actually, since we have all this 2D stuff. So there's a lot going on here, but that's really getting into the weeds, but it's being considered, definitely.
Well, and the other question I have is, is the idea to have all of the designs done, maybe with the exception of Vista Narrows, before construction starts?
Design, what construction do you mean?
Like
Of course
once,
they would be done. But
I
you
mean,
mean before Vista starts or
no,
what?
no, no. Like, so once we get, well, I think Vista Narrows can probably start before the design of all these other ones, but like, it seems like they're all gonna kind of be going at once, and I guess yeah, the construction, like the design of because small changes in the design could impact the other projects.
Right. I would say that every design, but by the time let's say Rock McCarran goes first, right? And it should go first. Rock McCarran would have its 100% design, but the other ones would have at least 60% by then, if
Okay.
not higher. So they're going to be substantially, they could change from 60 to 100, but a lot of it, I don't think at that point, you've kind of got everything down. You got a DDR, you understand exactly where you're at with everything. And it's
Okay.
more about detailing and finishing.
Well, and I
So,
think, sorry, I think that plays into my question about sequencing and interim conditions and modeling and knowing what that sensitivity analysis, if something changes on one of them and you're already building the other one, that we don't do anything that's going to lock us into a bad situation. So
yeah,
just, consideration of those things.
yeah, and like I said, I think we'll already be up to 60% by then. And usually, I mean, Vista might be a special case where there might be some significant changes in the configuration of the terraces because it sat there for 6 years and they didn't have the benefit of the PMR model. It was a lesser model that they were using. And so we're having a value engineering on that one. That's a next talk. But the point is that it could change a little bit because it's been 6 years, and the modeling has upgraded tremendously. But on these ones, I'm expecting they'll all be at 60% by the time you even start shoveling on. By the time Rock McCarran is at 100, those are all at least at 60 or more. And the other thing too is we have GSR, which I didn't mention, but they are in parallel working, and we're trying to time with them, and that's another issue because they have a levee that now they're gone all levee, they're the whole way. It was berm and levee, and I don't think that changes things much because the top of the berm versus where the levee isn't much different. But that is, we're going to have to make sure we have what they are planning on doing in concert with what we're doing, and they'll want to have what we have for especially Tumwa when they're doing their levy. So that's going to be coordination's a big deal, and like I said, I'm in contact with everybody so far. I think we're going to have good coordination, but a lot of that will be, that's another thing in the approach, coordination. They're going to have to be good about coordination between other teams.
Seems like you almost want like a bi-monthly meeting or something of all the teams to talk.
That would be a possibility, and the scopes, that's something I could put in there that's not in there right now, but that could be something that we do. The thing is Rock McCarran doesn't really affect the upstream ones, but the upstreams ones affect Rock McCarran. So yeah, that would be something we might have to do. All
So
right.
then are you going to be asking for us to review those RFQ? I think I see that on this current slide.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there.
Okay, sorry. I'm
Any
gonna let
more
you go
questions
ahead.
before I go there?
No, it's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
I think
All
you're
right.
gonna answer mine.
So the RFQ, we're looking at the week of January 5th. That's what I've been telling consultants as well, is like, I think it's coming out January 5th. I didn't want to try before the holidays because that really is not a good idea, and it suppresses the number of statement of quals, and it also is just a rotten deal for the consultants. So the RFQs are being drafted right now. Internal review will probably be done next week. Then the team review starts next week. I'll send them out. And look, this is a voluntary review. You do not, if you feel like, well, this seems okay, whatever, that's fine. Don't feel compelled to like, oh my gosh, I got to give comments. If you want to give comments, I definitely want to see the comments and what you think can improve the request for qualification. So we'll revise that and get it out in early January. The RFQs will run until mid-February. Then we have SOQs will need to be scored late February, early March, interviews mid-March, discussion with TAC late March, choose preferred team by April board is the goal there. And then there will be ongoing oversight of the consultant, depending on, who is really interested. Like I tell you what, Tumwa is going to be right there with us, wanting to make sure everything is being done correctly throughout the whole design. So will the airport, because I've been talking with them. And with the North Bank, I mean, Sparks, I'm rooting for you guys, man. Help me out here because I want to make sure that we do, everything and not surprise Sparks and do something that they don't want. So there is that. And so the point is here, we will have these different teams. And so the next slide I think is really important. So Tumwa will include two TRFMA, two Tumwa, and then whoever wants to be on this, off this TAC, or designate from the TAC. It doesn't have to be somebody's, a TAC member or anything, but a designate could be there. And also, if the tribe wants to be involved, they're definitely welcome to be involved. But I'm not saying, yeah, be involved in Tumwa because the effects, the one that really might matter is the North Bank for that one because it's so big. Um, Airport will include TRFMA and airport, and I imagine other city and county representation. And then the North Bank levy will include TRFMA, Sparks, and others. May include county and downstream stakeholders because of its size and scope. And then there's the volunteers. Who wants to be on these committees? And I'm not saying you have to decide this minute, but if each key stakeholder as part of the TAC wants to either tell me now or get back to me, we want to start developing these teams so that when we get these statement of qualifications back, we'll have a scoring, we'll have a discussion before. We'll pick if we want to do an interview or not, or just pick outright. Then we'll do the interview, we'll score the interview, and then we'll pick the preferred team for each one. And each team will be, I would imagine, somewhat different in the who's on the team. But that's what I'm looking at here. So, uh, especially the cities and the county, who you want to be on each team, if at all. I would like to know that from you. Doesn't have to be immediately or anything. You could huddle together and decide that. Email me. But I think the cities will be interested in Tumwa and the airport for sure. Both cities, because of the regional nature of it, of those two. In the North Bank, definitely Sparks would be interested because it's all along the Sparks industrial area. Anyways, just think about who you want to have on these teams. I had no trouble developing teams for Rock McCarran or Wadsworth. There was plenty of participation. And so I'm not really worried about it, but I'm just putting the bug in your ear to decide who you want to have on these teams. And I'll be sending the RFQ out to the whole TAC. So that's just a general review. I don't need teams for each one. And like I said, if you don't want to review one of them, that's fine. Any questions about all that?
Yeah, well, not necessarily a question, but I think I'd like to throw my hand into the hat, for volunteering for all of the projects,
Okay.
because I find this is very interesting to me, all three of these
Okay.
projects. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
kind of
I'll be a
expecting
volunteer.
that of you, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna speak for you.
I'm happy to throw my name in the hat.
Okay.
Trina?
Yeah, we will definitely be interested in being involved in all of them. We'll confer internally and let you know. I think also what I would like to know is, do you have a max, or is there a limitation on how many people can be, if you have a tribal person, two Tumwa, two TRFMA, one Reno Sparks County, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 7 already.
Yeah, I would anticipate Tumwa being the largest team.
Okay.
Because I think they do want, Tumwa does want 2 engineers on it. That would be 7. That's the biggest one. I would think the airport will be 5 or 6 or 6. And I think the North Bank levy could be about 6 as well, because I think we might pick up some downstream stakeholder involvement there. And that's what they were last time. They were mostly about 5 or 6.
Mhm.
The 7 would be 1 extra, but I'm not too, I think that's a good number. I don't want it to be 10, you know. So if it got like that, I think we'd talk it through. I'm not going to sit there and go, if it's 8, I'm going to put my foot down. I'm not, but if it gets like 10 or 11, I'm going to probably just talk to people and go, hey, that's going to get a little unruly here.
Okay. Mr. Walls?
Yeah, just a small warning as we put these teams together, that we be careful not to accidentally create a quorum of the TAC in the process. So just
And the quorum is
Just a
5,
warning.
right, Mike?
the quorum is 5.
Yeah, I don't think that, since the team is 5 and there'll be 2 on, 2 from each on the airport. The one that could get that is the North Bank levy.
Right. That
Yeah.
was my concern. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Zach, do you have a question?
Yes, I guess maybe 2 questions. So, are you looking for participation from the state, or considering Mr. Wolf's comment? Do you want?
Yeah, last time the state told me, hey, we might be regulating this thing, so we really don't want to be on the team. So I don't know if that's your position still. I mean, that was more of a policy position, not a legal one. So if you want to change that and be on teams, let's talk.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, I mean, yeah, I did want to clarify my role at NDEP. I oversee the Clean Water Act Section 401 certification process, state of Nevada. So this is when projects that require a federal permit to discharge in the waters of the U.S., which is a Corps of Engineers 404 Section 10 permit. I don't believe my involvement in reviewing SOQs and subsequent Section 401 review presents a conflict of interest, but I did want to raise this with the TAC to ensure transparency. If there's any concern about real or perceived conflicts of interest, I'm more than happy to recuse myself from voting on this item and participating in related subcommittees. So just wanted to put this one out there for folks.
Yeah, and we can talk offline. We could have you as a I guess, auditor, so what we're doing, but not maybe do it that way so you don't have that conflict. That might be a way of doing it that's kind of in between.
Yeah, like I said, I'm happy to provide support. Just, I don't want there to be a perceived conflict of interest.
Okay.
Thanks, Zach. Rob?
George, I'll get with Amber and we'll get a group together for what we want on each of the teams. So
Okay,
get
thanks,
back
Rob.
to you on that.
All right.
And Mary?
Just a question, if you have an alternate, is that include, would that be part of one of the 5 for the quorum?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know.
I actually just messaged Mike that.
Yes. Yeah. So yes.
Wow.
If you have a potential voting member, I think we need to watch that. It's a little ambiguous, but Yes, you have someone who in circumstances could vote on a board meeting showing up if we've got 5. I think we should avoid that. I'll just put it like that, just simply because, we're pretty fluid with how we use our alternates. So that's to be avoided.
All right, any other comments? I think are we looking for a motion for future determination of the committees, or are we looking for
I'm looking for you
of
guys
any
to
sort?
send me emails and tell me who you want on their committees.
Okay,
I
so
think
we're
it
not
should be
looking
more
for a
casual
formal
than
motion
that.
on this item.
Yeah, and then the next time we get together, I'll say what the committees are, and
Okay,
and if somebody objects, like, hey, why didn't you put me on? I told you. I was like, oh,
right.
sorry. So anyways, so we'll do it that way. We'll just, we will not have another meeting till the end of January, which is
Right.
but it'll be the RFQ will or the yeah, the RFQ will be out at that time. No, we won't have any of them in yet until like mid-February. So
And that was my next question, was when do we anticipate having all of the submittals in?
yeah, it would be mid-February.
Okay,
They would be we'd have a day and they'd all have to be in by that day and they'd
right.
be coming in, rushing in to get their timestamp on. So
Okay.
anyways, so that's I think that's it for this thing.
Okay.
We got more questions? No.
Marty?
Just me. So do we want to create a rough timeline of how people are going to get back? Because it sounds like everybody wants to go consult and then they'll get back to us and then we'll make the teams. Do we want to have like a rough timeline?
I don't, it's not really that urgent because they're not coming back till mid-February. That's when the teams really become relevant. What you should know is you're going to see SOQs, emails to TAC, SOQs, and an invitation to review, not a requirement or anything. But if it's one you're interested in, you see something, wow, I don't think that's what you meant there, or wow, that's not a very good way to go. I certainly want to hear that. I want to know what's going on there, and I appreciate any kind of review. And I know some
So you're gonna
will.
send those out next week?
Yeah, and Tumwa will get, a couple of people at Tumwa will get one, and the airport will get one. In fact, I'm meeting next week with the airport. So that, anyways, that's where we're at with this. I hope this gives you enough to go on. But the big key here is this slide right here is, you know, if you want to be involved, tell me who, and we'll develop those things, make sure that they don't we don't have a problem with quorum and also don't get too big. I don't want, like I said, 10, I don't want double digits, but 8's getting 7's all right, 6 is all right, 5's all right, 4, 3 is too small. So anyways, that's kind of my sweet spot is 5, 6, 7.
Okay. Doesn't that doesn't that exceed the quorum for the Tumwa?
No, because 2 of the people are from
Oh, okay.
TRFMA, and for 2 of them, at least 1 or 2 is from outside. And of course,
Okay.
myself, I'm not part of the quorum, and neither is Danielle.
Right. Okay.
Alrighty then. We will close item 6 and move on to item number 7, presentation on the status of the Vista Narrows flood project element, including plans from or for Atkins Realis Group Inc. to take the design from 60% to 100% and prepare materials for construction contract bidding. The maximum total contract amount is $1,851,404 over the term of 18 months. The presentation will also include an update on the status of the Vista Narrows permitting process and other related issues. Mr. Robison, you have the floor again.
All right, so I think we all know where Vista Narrows is, but I just put this slide up and you know, the important thing about Vista Narrows is that we know is it is the foundation. It's the key because it provides the lowering of the water level, so the rest of the project doesn't become a eyesore problem for South Reno, you know, out there by, especially out there by Hidden Valley and that area, Miraloma, all that. Um, and the second thing is that this thing started back in 2018, and we've been trying to work through permitting, so it's been sitting on the shelf for quite some time. It also that the original it evolved while it was being designed to be, at first it was a core project. Now it was going to be part of the locally preferred plan, but the locally preferred plan was rejected. So when that happened, it became a local project without any core except for the permitting aspect. And that was in the fall of 2019, just as it was wrapping up. So for those reasons, this thing's going to change a little bit because it's sat for 6 years because it was a core project and those kind of things. So anyways, one of the reasons why is because we've been waiting on the permits and we wanted to move through and get and just make sure that we had a trust level with our downstream stakeholders as well. That took some time before we really wanted to push ahead with this thing. Okay, so the role is the lowering. This is this graphic, and I believe this is the one that we did with the PMR. I mean, we have a version with the old modeling, and then we have a version with the new modeling. This is, I believe, the newer modeling, but they both show a slight reduction in water level with the full project in play. And whatever we do with this project, we're going to check this every time because we do not want to have a rise in any of these areas. And we also want to make sure we don't have any more than 2,400 CFS increase coming out of Vista Narrows. That's part of our agreement with the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe. So those are rock solid things that we have to do with our whole project, including Vista Narrows. So between this is just the permitting history. Most of you know this, and these slides will be on our website. I don't want to like relive all this for you, but anyways, the key things were the entire project was deauthorized just this year in January, and we came to an agreement late in 2024 with the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe for a mitigation projects agreement, and they wrote letters of non-opposition for the Vista project. So those were two key things that allowed the permitting to kind of unlock and move forward. So we've had a lot of recent permit work, and it's really accelerated, especially since October. And really, we're getting to just a few things left. And those few things which are they want more detailed specifications they could look at, and a couple of more minor things and a couple of changes to the EA and some cultural work. But the real big one here is, they want these specs. That's going to take some work, and that will be an emphasis in the final design work early on, is to get a draft out so that they can review that and we can kind of get that permit out of the way. I should also note that in addition to the 1.8 million, there's approximately $200,000 that's going out to two entities for helping us with permitting on top of the design team. So all along there was always a two team approach. There was going to be an engineering team and engineering design team, and then a permitting team, and that's continuing. So anyways, we're getting to the final design. And now where we are is we're going to have a design kickoff meeting next week. I'm going to outline the scope in this talk. I'm going to also discuss the permitting status. And finally, we'll touch on financing and viability because those are all important things. And by the way, these are like slide grabs from our video, Vista Narrows. So now on our website under our news section, we actually have a video about Vista Narrows, kind of for friends and family that don't know anything about flooding. So anyways, so the design components of this are, and this isn't everything. I kind of combine them just to make it easier. But there's going to be some further data collection and survey because of the 6 years. There is still some work on easement and right-of-way issues. Some of those things that we had in place lapsed on us, so we got to kind of renew them. We have the specifications, we have drawings, we have bid support when we get this thing done, geotechnical analysis. We also have a section on value engineering because of the fact that we do have the PMR, and we want to use that and make sure that we're doing this in the most economical way possible now that we have more information. And evaluating changes in utilities, we have permitting support, and that's on separate contracts, and general support for the end overhead plus meeting coordination. So that's the real components of this 1.8 million that we have right now. And this is the actual, bill list from their scoping materials. So you can see, the big ones are things like, actually, I have a slide on this in a minute, but things like the real estate management and support is a big one. The value engineering is big. Geotechnical is big because of the fact that it's lapsed for 6 years. And with geotechnical, the goal up to 60% really was to figure out if this thing was viable and it works and things like that. Now with the geotechnical, you want to get specific on what you can use for borrow, what you have to waste, things like that. That requires a little bit more density in basically not so much drilling, but more with going out there with backhoes and doing some test pits. And you can see that, another big one here is these design drawings cost a lot. There's hundreds of sheets. And there's the total at the bottom there. But that's the actual breakdown of this. And the reason why it is so high is the geotechnical work, the easement and right-of-way issues after 6 years, the long period since initial design. We got to make sure on the utilities, especially. There are new utilities since. The value engineering as well, because we have the PMR model. So, and I think that will actually save more money than it's costing here by far. But it's an important step. So with that, I mean, I went through a lot there. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
Zach?
Thank you. I guess sort of the general question is, considering the permitting timing setbacks for Vista Narrows, I guess, were there any lessons learned during the permitting of Vista Narrows to help, the subsequent flood projects move more efficiently through the permitting process when?
Yeah, I did learn quite a bit. I learned that we were probably premature in doing the design before but we had to do the downstream impacts to understand what the impacts were to engage our stakeholders. And this project should have been deauthorized a lot sooner. And honestly, we were trying to deauthorize as soon as 2020. And we even said that we wanted to deauthorize as soon as 2021. It took 4 years to do that because of what Congress is like these days. So that's hard to get something through like that, working with our delegation and everybody else. So that's one thing we learned. Another big thing we learned in really examining this reach is the whole, at first they said, well, you need to do a 408 because you have a conceptual design for a authorized project, which I thought was rather dubious, and I've never heard of that before. But when we got the thing deauthorized, now it's based on a 65-year-old stream cleaning study. So we've done some, well, we've had our legal team do some initial work, and let me just color myself skeptical that they really have a legitimate claim to a 408 when it's based on a 65-year-old stream cleaning study. Yeah, sure, if you have physical features out there that are known and easy to understand that can be damaged by further work, that makes a lot of sense for a 408. But 408 for something is nebulous as a stream cleaning project that's been wiped out by at least 3 floods and much of it's been constructed over already. That just seems like we might have an opening to get rid of the 408 entirely below the Glendale Bridge and just go with 404. So I don't know if that answers your question, but those are some lessons learned. I think getting the 408 out of there would make our permitting a lot easier and just focusing on 404. I mean, we still have to have the public participation and interest in the, Section 7 and all that, but it seems like we should, the 408 has been a nightmare for us because, it should be very simple. Are we maintaining 6,000 CFS capacity? And it hasn't been. It hasn't been simple at all.
That absolutely answers my question. Thank you.
All right.
Any other questions from Trina?
You have a question in the chat?
Oh, thank you.
I was gonna wait for public comment for that, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Marisa Ernst says, will planned upgrades to I-80 have any influence on the Vista Narrows design?
We are not anticipating that because we're kind of away from it, but we are working with NDOT on everything like the cultural resources and all that to know what they're doing. That's obviously we have built-in tasks to coordinate with NDOT on encroachment and everything else. So if it is, we will be modifying Vista slightly if we have to. There's 3 terraces. There's the one terrace on the north bank is the one that could have a problem, or it does. Or we don't think it does, but it's possible it could have an influence on that. So that one could have an influence. So we'll see, but we're not anticipating that. I mean, really, the cultural resources in general is a much bigger thing that we're really trying to avoid any cultural resources and do everything we can to make sure that we're enhancing it and not hurting it. Any other questions? Okay.
Seeing none?
Okay,
All right.
so the schedule here, you can see this that they've got, the final design at the end of the year next year. That sounds about right to me. The bidding could go out early next year, kind of a year from now. There is, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but yeah, we could do that at that point. So anyways, that's the schedule. And once again, this will be printed out or on our website and you can get a copy. But anyways, that's where we're at with it. This is right from them, what they think they'll do. And I think it's a pretty reasonable schedule.
So is there currently an oversight group that is working with Atkins Realis to move this forward in their project?
Well,
As far as, going through the bid documents and things like that.
there is that you mean when we get to construction?
Yeah. Or
That would-
actually, you
That
get
would be another amendment. They're going to provide bid services. Once it's bidded out, then we would want to have construction services, owner representation. My philosophy has always been that you want to have the person that stamped it defending their stamp on things like dams or fluvial projects. Maybe not with like, oh, I'm building another tilt-up building. Maybe not for that, but I think when you're doing something where there's a lot of geotechnical and complexity, you want to definitely have somebody defending their stamp. So anyways, this is going to show the costs of moving forward a little bit here. The Lake Street area, I'm just putting 500K on it for now. It probably would not be constructed or have major design for the next couple of years, but just being conservative here. Colony's levy is already completed. Grand Sierra, I'm just putting a number there as well. I don't even think it'll be that much, but we are helping out mostly staff time. Tumwa levy and flood wall. That is estimated at 2.2 million of design costs. The airport terracing and berm has $1 million in design costs. The Rock to McCarran terracing has 4 million costs forward. The levee and flood wall McCarran to Vista along the North Bank has a 7.3 million design permitting overall. That I'm just putting the overall number to be conservative, probably not that much in the next 2 years. Vista Narrows has a $51 million cost forward. That includes the design, permitting, and construction cost forward. And I think that is a conservative number. I'm hoping it goes down a little bit when we hit value engineering. So the total going forward estimated cost of the Truckee Meadows flood project near end. So this is not the total cost, but this is the Vista Narrows plus a bunch of design work. And one thing I did not put in there is the cost to get a piece of land that's an in-holding at Rock McCarran. That could be 6 or 7 million. I'm just going to give a very broad estimate because that would be a negotiation. And that would include moving people, paying to move people off those places where they're near the river. But the total going forward estimated cost of the flood project near in design plus Vista Narrows cost forward is 66.5 million. There are other projects like the berm and then the flood wall at Riverside. If you include those in, you're up to 72.5 million. However, my thing isn't showing the bottom of this for some reason, and I don't know how to make it do that. My slide's getting cut off. But what I would say there, we have at least 84 million that's available, or 86 million that's available in those. We already have 71 million. We get about 8 million a year, or at least that's a small number that's available for capital projects. So we're at 86 versus 72.5. Even with that property, we're still ahead, and we won't have to borrow money until the ones in yellow. Like if we start constructing Tumwa Airport, Rock, the North Bank, then we have to get financing. But up until then, all this other stuff can be done with existing resources from our standpoint. So that's another thing, we got to make sure we have the money to do all this stuff. So the scheduling, I'll just leave it like this. This is kind of a detail, a little more detail just to let you know what we're planning. And then Marty made it all pretty for us. So you can see, crusty engineer version, Marty version. Okay. So she didn't put the picture in there, but that looks a lot better than mine. So anyways, I think that's it for this. Yes, it is. So any questions? Okay, well,
Meeting is ready. All right.
Madam Chair, we may want to call for public comment since we had one comment in the middle of the presentation.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any public comment on
We also have a
this?
comment from Mary. She has her hand up.
Sorry, just a question. Can I get these slides?
aren't they still up?
Yeah, I mean, but can I get them emailed to me?
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, these are all going to be available on our website, but I can email them to you too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any other public comment? Seeing none. All right, we will close item number 7 and open number 8. Update on the Rock to McCarran flood project design process or progress to 30% design. This informational item may include discussion of various design activities, the schedule forward, possible design challenges, and coordination for the project.
Okay, so I thought you'd be wore out with the PowerPoint by now, so I'm just going to do this verbally. I wanted to just say that the 30% has been rocking and rolling since October 24th. The recreational is understandably behind a little bit because we waited on that decision. And that also impacted the transportation decision. Although the transportation has a pretty good laid out situation, but they're coordinating now with the Reno transportation area to make sure that we have that done correctly. And so that's where we're at with that. A lot of this stuff, the inner river stuff, 70-80% is where those drawings are out there. Very I was looking at them yesterday and I was like, wow, this looks like some of my drawings for 100% at Napa Drive Bypass. I was like, some of this is really far along, for a 30. But anyways, so the real parts that are lagging a bit are the recreation, and we've got to do some work on transportation. And some of the issues that we're working through with the bridge, especially the McCarran Bridge, we're working with NDOT. We're going to do a permit process for coming in easement, I suppose is what you call it. But then we're going to talk to them about all the issues we're going to increase capacity and that kind of stuff. The extra water that's coming down the river. Another thing that we have is guys from Sparks, let me tell Mayor Lawson this. There is a small wall section near the Rock Bridge. It's just too tight right there. It's probably, I don't know. I don't know the exact amount, but it's maybe 100 feet of wall. It's not very much, and it's a transition down to the trail under the bridge there. And it's just a very tight place. And we may have a little bit of an easement there, but it's a very small easement, and that area isn't currently being used. So hopefully that won't be too big of a problem. And then we still have to coordinate on bats, although we're reaching out on that. And we still have to work on the property in holding over there on the south side there where there's the off Edison there. So the dates, we actually do have proposed dates of when we think we're going to have things ready. March 27th, we're going to have we're hoping to have a draft for the TAC at that date or before. That's the meeting date. So sometime around then, we're going to have a draft. April, we're hoping to show that to the board, and likely to have a March and or April a working group on this as well as we get to the 30, just to show people where we're at with the 30 and let them comment on it and things like that. Because sometimes we pick up some really good comments from the public that probably would help us with the 60. So anyways, that's where we're at with this on schedule. So you're looking at March for the 30. We're looking at end of the, late fall for the 60. So it's funny, the 60 will probably come out right before the final will come out for Vista Narrow. So fall will be a busy time of plans coming out. Anyways, that's all I've got.
All right, any comments from either TAC members or the public? Seeing none. All right. Thank you, George. Item number 9, review and discussion of the Truckee River Flood Management Authority draft Board of Directors meeting agenda for January 9th, 2026. I believe that should be our agenda.
All right, the next likely meeting of the TRFMA Board of Directors will probably not be until February. That would be February 13th. As a result, we're far enough out that we don't have a planned agenda at this point, and we will likely be meeting with you before that meeting again. So we have nothing on that item today.
Thank you, Mr. Rolls. All right, so closing number 9, item 9. Item number 10, committee member comments, requests, and future agenda items. Mary, I believe you have a.
So yeah, I just want to talk about the PMR and versions, and it might be helpful to have somebody from HDR at that, well, Mitch specifically, at that meeting or that discussion, just so he can advise us. Because we're gonna have the FEMA version that is what is going to be delineated as our special flood hazard areas. And then we're going to have new versions. And I think because it's been being used by so many people, that's going to quickly get confusing. And it's already getting confusing to me because I'm seeing people's proposed projects and I'm like, okay, well, it looks like you don't have that much impact from your existing, but when I look at my existing, it's a lot different. So like, we just have that discussion. I would like to have that discussion.
Okay, and it was just finalized today. Just for context.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But again, that's the FEMA version, and we have a lot of 6.4 and 6.6, I'm sorry, 6.6 version out there, which are pretty different. I mean, at least downtown, there's some like the Riverside berm is where this really comes out. Is like there's a lot of different delineations going on.
I think that's very important, and that will come up when the design comes up. With JUB, they need to rerun the hydraulics. That's going to be part of the permitting.
Yeah.
So I think we want to let them have a go at it before we jump to too many conclusions there. Anyways, anything
Kathy?
else? Oh, Kathy.
Kathy has her hand raised.
Sorry.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted just more of like an announcement thing. I was just going to let you know that we, this next Saturday, the 13th, we are having a flood evacuation drill with our emergency management and our community of Lockwood. We're doing that from 8 to noon on Saturday morning. So that should be interesting to see what comes out of that. We're expecting it to be a little chaotic. Because we haven't done this before, and we've got a community that's very much involved. There are a lot of seniors, and they came to a pre-meeting to talk about it, and they were very excited about what we're going to be doing. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens, and anybody that's interested is more than welcome to come observe or participate in whatever your role might be. Just let me know, reach out to me or whatever, and let me know. And then I also wanted just to say quickly, George, I was wanting to have a chance to talk with you with our Long Valley Creek hazard mitigation plan that we completed with the 2D modeling that you were doing for the evaluation for the downstream impacts. We are actively looking for some monies and things about replacing some of those bridges. And although those don't touch the Truckee River too much, some of it might be a little bit with some of the mitigation measures you're talking about. So depending on how the timing and everything might work, maybe there's some opportunities to kind of coordinate some of that together. So that's
Okay,
a
and
discussion for another time. But I just wanted to give you a heads up, and I'd like to reach out and talk with you sometime about that.
yeah, and Tim Beardsley has been shaking me down for those models for I think next Saturday. So I've
Oh,
been
okay.
working with him. He's already got at least PDF copies of it, and I can give him, I can even give him GIS, but I don't know if we'll have time to do it that much for Saturday. But at least you'll have some decent PDF copies of flood, 2D flood modeling on
Okay.
for a couple of different scenarios even. So
All
that'll
right.
help
Thank you,
you with your
everybody.
emergency.
Mhm.
All
Thank you,
right.
Kat. Any other comments? Seeing none. Public comment, item number 11. During this comment period, any person is invited to speak on any topic that is not listed as an action item on this agenda. Action may not be taken on any matter raised during this public comment period until the matter is specifically listed on a future agenda. Comment must be made as described above and is limited to 3 minutes per person. Any raised hands? Kathy, I believe your raised hand is from the previous
Oh,
item.
sorry. Yes. Sorry.
Seeing
And-
no other comments.
All right, thank you very much. And item number 12 is adjournment. So we are adjourning at 11:21 a.m. Thank you all.
Thanks. Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Mhm.